I recently asked a question in the Facebook group. What kind of videos do you guys want to see? What do you want me to talk about? And what I got more than anything else was microbrands, 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 microbrands. So we're going to be doing exactly that. So over my time of just making videos on YouTube, I've just been compiling a list of microbrands that I thought were at least interesting to look at. And I figured what we can do is just go through kind of a multi-part series looking at different microbrands, just kind of raising the awareness on what's out there. And I know a lot of people have some resistance against microbrands. This is probably not the video for you then. But if you're somebody that just wants to know what's out there, are always into just figuring out kind of more unique offerings compared to the mainstay brands that we see and talk about so often, this might be an interesting video for you. But all right, guys, let's jump into this. And just some ground rules before we start this. I'm going to be looking at one watch per microbrand mentioned. And as always, I want to see comments down below about what you guys think of these brands. I think it's always good to have a conversation. And considering a lot of these might not be to your liking and they're a little bit different, it's always cool to kind of just see the collective opinion of other people. I know you guys never hold back when it comes to opinions. All right, guys, so now for our first watch here is from a microbrand, Richard Legrand. And I've been pretty impressed with Richard Legrand when I'm looking at a spec breakdown of their watches, particularly the Odyssey Mark II. And this watch is a diver watch and has a few different variations that you can choose from. But when looking at the specs of this watch, that's when I become a little bit impressed and become a little bit discouraged of mainstream brands that maybe need to raise the bar a little bit. But here we're looking at a price range of $250 to $300. Case size of 41 millimeters, thickness of 13.1 millimeters, powered by an automatic Seiko NH35A movement, water resistance of 200 meters, and has a sapphire crystal. The watch has a unidirectional dive bezel with a sapphire crystal insert, has a ceramic dial, and features a few different bezel options. They also have date and no date options. The no dates I found were not available on the site. I don't know what the word is about those being restocked anytime soon. And for all around, I think this watch is bringing some pretty good value to the table. Something you can't say about every microbrand out there, but this is one that is certainly the exception. Now, I feel like a lot of you guys know of me as the guy who loves like German minimalist style watches. I mean, I'm wearing a Max Bill chronoscope right now, so I'm only feeding into that narrative. But I always get questions. I don't have thousands of dollars to spend on a watch. I want to get a Bauhaus-inspired watch. What affordable variations do we have out there? And I always have some ideas and kind of minimalist style watches, but true Bauhaus style, it's kind of hard to come by at an affordable price tier. However, there is this one microbrand that I've been seeing a lot more and I've been getting a lot of questions about. And I have to say, if there's one more affordable watch that I think really does embody that Bauhaus style, this would be the one. And it's from a microbrand, Sternglass. So Sternglass is a German microbrand based in Hamburg. They offer quartz and automatic versions of their watches. The quartz watches come in with $100 to around $200 price range, which is a little bit more palatable for people that just want these things for design purposes. But if you do want to go for the mechanical version, and that's what we're going to be looking at today, we're going to be looking at the Zirkel model. But this watch here comes with a price range of $300 to $350, case size of 40 millimeters, thickness of 10 millimeters, powered by an automatic Miyota 821A movement, and that is the decorated version of the 8215 from Miyota. Nothing too crazy here, but you know, it's a reliable movement. So these watches from a value standpoint, I won't say that they're the best value out there, but for those that are so set on getting a Bauhaus style watch, I don't think these are bad options. Maybe you don't have that much money to spend. I think these are interesting options, as well as those quartz options if you don't really care. All you're buying these for are for design purposes only. So kind of interesting, and I'm glad I was able to find this brand. Now this next micro brand is a little bit unique because they've been around since 2006, and they specialize in diver watches. And the brand is Deep Blue. So when you go to Deep Blue's website, and I've mentioned Deep Blue in a couple videos before as well, they have so many different options to choose from. A lot of funky colored watches and divers that you can choose from, as well as more kind of subdued designs that you can go for. And that's the way that we're gonna go today, and in a case size that I think will be more appropriate for most people out there. But the watch is the Deep Blue Diver 1000. These watches come with a price range of $250 to $330 if you want to go for the bracelet version. Case size of 40 millimeters. The case thickness here is a little bit bulkier, but these are meant to be diver watches. 15 millimeters though. Movement is a automatic Seiko NH35, and then water resistance of 300 meters, and sports a sapphire crystal. And if you're somebody that's set on kind of getting a more affordable diver watch that you can maybe just beat around, not care about as much, but it could have some more fun with it, I think Deep Blue is a cool option. Now for our next micro brand, it's a brand that I have just become a little bit more familiar with, and it is called Mercer. So Mercer Watch Company is based in New Jersey, and the particular model we're going to be looking at is the Mercer Durham. So these watches come in at the price of $569, case size of 41 millimeters, thickness of 11.5 millimeters, powered by an automatic STP 111 movement. So STP is Fossil's answer to ETA, and it's interesting to see these Microbrands and kind of what movements they use and utilizing what's out there. It's always kind of cool from a business perspective what they're doing to kind of keep these prices down, because I know they're all trying to do that, but interesting choice. From a water resistance standpoint, we have 30 meters of water resistance and then a sapphire crystal. You have multiple different versions to choose from with this watch. Really cool sunburst style dials, and the other cool thing about Mercer is the fact that any of their models that they have available on their site, you can go in as a consumer, fill out a form, and request to have anything modified or customized to any degree. So pretty cool there. Now, about a year ago, when I was doing my first video on the subject of microbrands, I came across this one microbrand called Brew. And at the time, they had this one watch called the HP1, and I thought it was just really cool. It was unique, unlike anything I've really seen from a microbrand, and it was pretty reasonably priced. And I've been following them along for a while. I was able to connect with Jonathan after posting that video, the founder of Brew Watches. At the end of last year, they released a new model. It's a chronograph, the Brew Retrograph. And I've mentioned this a couple times before, and every single time I do, I feel it gets really good feedback. I saw Alton Brown, a famous figure on the Food Network, recently posted one of these on his Instagram, so it's really cool to see these spreading, and I just wanted to mention them again today. So the Brew Retrograph comes in with a price of $350, case size of 38 millimeters by 41.5 millimeters, case thickness of 10.4 millimeters, powered by a Mecha Quartz Seiko VK64 movement, water resistance of 50 meters, and sports a sapphire crystal. And Brew Watches is just a microbrand that I really applaud. I think they don't outprice themselves. I think they're very approachable. And for somebody that's looking for something different, I think they're really cool options for those that really like the aesthetic of them. Now, next up, we have a microbrand that I think is a little bit larger in terms of just how quickly they've kind of grown in popularity, and that is Unimatic. So I think Unimatic is one of the more popular microbrands, as they're doing limited editions now with Mr. Porter, and I've seen them mentioned in many online publications as well. But I think all of this is really warranted, as they do have really unique designs. And the model we're going to be looking at here is the Unimatic U1 EMN. So this watch comes in with a price of around $600 to $700, case size of 40 millimeters, case thickness of 13.6 millimeters, powered by an automatic Seiko NH35A movement, water resistance of 300 meters, and sports a sapphire crystal. Another model I like by them, and I know I said I was only going to choose one, was the U2B model. Partially just because I love just its unique pilot style dial and the unique curvature to the case that helps house that bulkier Seiko NH35A movement. But Unimatic overall, really cool watches. I think they have that minimalist style, which I kind of like, and are doing some things that I think are very different than what has become conventional with a lot of mainstream watch brands. Now, next up on our list, we have a brand that calls Portland, Oregon home, and that is Vera. And we're going to be looking at the Vera Hand Wound 36. So we have two different options here, the Hand Wound Rally and the Hand Wound Sunset. Looks like the Hand Wound Rally, the watch that I personally prefer a little bit more, is currently out of stock, but the Hand Wound Sunset is also a very cool option. The watch here comes in with a price of $1,080, case size of 36 millimeters, has a thickness of 9.5 millimeters, powered by an automatic Sellita 210 movement, water resistance of 100 meters, and sports a sapphire crystal. But a really cool watch. They assemble all their watches and manufacture the dials in Portland, Oregon. So I think it's a really cool mention, and it's cool to see that they're doing some of their production here in the United States. So now we were in the USA, let's go over to the UK and look at Ferrer. And I have been seeing a lot more of these as of late, especially in our Facebook group. I think a lot of people actually own a couple of these watches in the group and post about them quite frequently. And the watch we're going to be looking at is the Ferrer Ponting GMT. So this watch comes in with a $1,100 price point to $1,200. Case size is 39.5 millimeters, thickness of 10 millimeters, powered by an automatic ETA 2893-2, water resistance of 100 meters, and has a sapphire crystal. Ferrer is based in the UK, and their watches are Explorer inspired, which is rather evident when you look at their complete lineup. And I've seen this brand grow pretty quickly as of late, so I'll be interested in kind of keep an eye out on them. Now for our last micro brand, it's an interesting one with an interesting story to tell. They're a little bit higher end, but I think actually their prices are very warranted considering who is making the watches. And the brand is Habring 2. So Habring is a boutique brand based in Austria, founded by Richard Habring and his wife Maria. And Richard has developed an impressive career in watchmaking. In short, he is a master watchmaker, and he helped IWC in the early 1990s develop their split-second chronograph mechanism, and then went on to work for Lange following that, until going the independent route in 2002. And the brand has a lot of interesting watches. They're actually developing their own movements now as well, and I want to look at a really interesting watch from them, the Felix. So the Felix comes in with a price range of $3,500 to $5,000, case size of 38.5 millimeters, thickness of 9 millimeters, powered by an automatic A11B movement. I believe the A stands for Austria here. So these are movements actually produced and modified by Richard himself. Water resistance of 30 meters and sports a sapphire crystal. So Habring too is certainly a boutique brand. They're only producing a few to several dozen of their watches every single year, but they're very interesting, and I think it does open the door to getting a taste of higher horology at more affordable prices. I know for most people, I'm sure they'll want to go for a mainstream brand, but they're really interesting. These are well-produced watches, and I have to give credit to Bill Saunders from Watch Art Sci. I'm actually a big fan in secret of his channel, and Bill is a really awesome enthusiast, knows a lot about watches, and I learn a lot from him. So if you guys want to learn a little more about Habring, he did a really in-depth review talking about their different movements and a little bit of history of the brand, and he actually does a hands-on review with one of their pieces. I will link to that in the description down below. But guys, those are my choices here today. If you want me to continue this series, absolutely give this video a thumbs up. That's a great indicator for me. Also subscribe, hit the bell icon. Those are probably the best way you can help out the channel and allowing us to grow here on YouTube. But say microbrands aren't your thing, you want to get more of an iconic piece, go check out the link in the description to Bob's Watches. Bob Watches, a partner of the channel and one of the largest online retailers for watches in the world. Any purchase also supports the channel and the content you're watching. And then also, if you want to get a watch strap, go to our website. We have some awesome watch straps available. And if you want to join our watch giveaway, fill out the watch giveaway form in the description, and then go follow me on Instagram. Only 2 set of criteria you need to accomplish there. But guys, thank you again so much for watching. Really appreciate it as always, and I will see you all very soon.